have it. I think I got maybe. I was trying to remember. So I'm going to officially start this meeting. It's a little bit after 6:30. Yeah, it's a little after 6:30 and we want to try and keep on time this evening. This is our first in-person event since I took presidency in 2020, which started in January, and before March, things crashed. I do apologize. I did not realize I would have that effect on the country. But yeah, so we didn't even get to our March meeting that year. So this is the first time. This is where we had been meeting. The church was wanting to welcome us back. They've made more space for us to have more people here. And so we do appreciate that on their behalf. This was a little more convenient than some other locations that are further off the freeway, which means more traffic, which is terrible right now anyway. So thank you everyone for showing up. We do have refreshments at the back. There's tea that is unsweet, but there's sweetener there and sugar. The lemonade is that good old instant country time lemonade. And there is bottled water in the big white, red and white ice chest. And then at the back of the table is a bag of ice in another little ice chest. So if you want ice in your cups, that's there. And then there's several refreshments. So do not hesitate to go and enjoy those even during the program. We're just getting ready to get started good. And Jennifer's not here, and I didn't bring the wonderful blurb about our speaker tonight. So Anita will introduce herself, and with that, let's welcome Anita Westervelt. She's a member here, and she will teach us about gardening for bats.
Pregnant pause. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's showing up on this laptop.
Showing up on WebEx?
Yes.
There we go.
And here's my bio. So you probably all read it, so I'm not going to go over it, but I am a writer and a photojournalist, and this is Gardening for Bats. And the first portion of this presentation talks about a few random, possibly annoying plants that you find in your yard and probably think are weeds. It's a brief repeat of another presentation that you've probably already seen or heard. Don't kill it until you know what it is, but it's not completely repeating that. So the second part of this presentation was about something I wasn't expecting at all when I began experimenting with attracting moths with a black light and moth sheet apparatus. So one day I was sitting at my computer looking at all the cool moth and bug photos I was collecting, and it was kind of sad because I couldn't think how to showcase them in a PowerPoint because I love designing PowerPoints and writing scripts. And then it dawned on me how to put it all together, and Gardening for Bats was born. And I hope you'll quickly see how it all interacts. It's really gardening for insects, but that's just not as catchy as gardening for bats. So, oops. First, let me mention some of the plants that you may or may not appreciate. And the ubiquitous Rheola, also called wild petunia, is prolific. If you've got one, you've got hundreds, so it seems here in the Rio Grande Valley. On the plus side, they are one of the few native plants that grow in the shade. They provide nectar for butterflies. The leaves are eaten by white-tailed deer in the wild. Bobwhite quail eat the seeds. Their real claim to fame is that Rheola is a larval food plant for 6 butterflies, native butterflies: common buckeye, pale-banded crescent, the malachite, white peacock, banded peacock, and the Texas crescent butterfly. Now, Mexican hat, one of my favorite plants, also called upright prairie coneflower, is a hearty three-seeder. Petals are yellow, orange, yellow-tipped, deep burgundy, or yellow and orange. Flowers attract smaller pollinators and beneficial garden insects like beetles, katydid, nymphs, bees, flies, butterflies, and other nectar insects. The lacy leaves form a dense bushy area for insects to hide in. And I want you to keep that thought for later. And the ripe seeds are eaten by seed-eating birds, songbirds, small mammals, and Rio Grande turkeys. On the range, leaves are eaten by white-tailed deer and cattle. And they are colorful, polite, shapely, small, shrub-looking plants that look nice when used as an ornamental near a patio edge or even in a container garden. Berlandier's trumpets. If you've ever heard any of my presentations, you'll probably know about this plant already. But they come up along the edges of sidewalks and driveways, and these native plants weren't even stunned by the great freeze of 2021. Neither were Riella, for that matter, nor the Mexican hat plants. So Berlandier's trumpets also is a vine. Although the ones on the pavement don't seem to travel much over about 18 inches, this one planted itself around a giant honey mesquite tree. At 4 o'clock every evening, Berlandier trumpets faithfully open. They close by sunrise the next morning. These vines are the larval host plant for the white-lined thanks moth. And we don't have a picture of that yet. So, ivy morning glory is native to Central America and is naturalized in tropical, subtropical regions basically throughout the globe. It's an annual twining vine commonly found creeping along the ground and other vegetation, especially along roadsides and railroad tracks, and quite commonly along the edges of cultivated fields near the roadside, which is where I found this lovely one. It blooms from summer to fall, is pollinated by bees, visited by hummingbirds and some of the larger butterflies, like swallowtails and fritillaries. The pink, this is hard to say, the pink spotted hawk moth and morning glory leaf miner use the plant as a host. Beetles feed on the foliage. Golden wave is an annual. They reach heights to about 20 inches, blooming spring to fall in clumps like in the photo on the right. It makes a nice, dense, bushy habitat. Coreopsis readily self-propagates. It's good nectar for butterflies and bees. Finches and sparrows eat the seeds. Another one of my favorites is pepperweed. It's a nice, full, shrubby-type plant native to much of North America. As you can see, pepperweed can be prolific. A healthy stand of it can be nearly 2 feet tall. It's easy enough to pull out, but they do have value to wildlife. The plants are pollinated by a variety of insects and bees. Nectar and seeds are good sources too. It's a host plant for some of the white butterflies, like the checkered white and possibly the cabbage and grape southern white butterflies. A couple of great kiskadees used branches of pepperweed in the construction of their nest this year in my yard.
Isn't that one that we have out there?
I didn't see.
I think so.
If not, I'll bring some.
Sorry.
This is an annual plant that comes up in the winter here. Most people can name it, but give it only a cursory consideration. It's plantain, actually red-seeded plantain. It normally occurs throughout much of Texas, the Great Plains, and the Southwest. It grows from a short taproot, first showing a rosette of broad leaves close to the ground and forming a nice, tight little community. Soon, green spikes, as you see on the photo, shoot up to the rosette that can reach up to 14 inches in height. The spikes produce blooms, although the flowers are hardly noticeable. Toward the end of April, hundreds of tiny seeds turn the spikes a rusty red color. Because of the short taproot, it's easy to pluck up these plants if you don't want them, but the plant actually has tremendous value. It's used to revegetate wildlife habitats and rangelands for forage. The foliage is eaten by Rio Grande wild turkeys, white-tailed deer, cattle, Texas tortoise, scaled and bobwhite quail, and mourning doves. As a conservation plant, it has been used in erosion control along streams in various parts of its range, and the leaves have anti-inflammatory properties. Another surprising wildlife valuable plant is common purslane. It's an annual native succulent. It comes up from a taproot and does not root at the stem nodes like some of our wild things. The flowers attract pollinators, flies, small bees, and beetles. Rodents, squirrels, rats, and mice eat the flowers. Sparrows and other birds eat the seeds. Herbivores eat the leaves. Common purslane is a larval plant to a variety of sawfly called purslane blockmine sawfly, which is not pictured, and the larval host to the purslane moth pictured at the bottom left of the slide. At the top left, a tiny Serranus blue butterfly is drawing nectar. The insect on the leaf in the top right is a genus of midges. In the middle photo, a salt marsh moth caterpillar is eating its way through a thick leaf. This plant has an ancient worldwide distribution. I think this is pretty exciting. Some of the earliest explorers in the Americas found the plant already growing, and seeds of this plant have been found in archaeological sites. As a caution, it is high in oxalic acid and toxic to cats, dogs, goats, and horses. It's remarkably maintenance-free. It comes up between the cracks in a sidewalk and will just take care of itself all summer long. It blooms spring through fall. One plant can produce up to 200,000 seeds. That's a lot of bird food. A persistent, if not popular plant that can invade a lawn in the shade from tree boughs is three-lobed false mallow, also commonly called yard mallow. At first glance, it looks exciting with its dark green, small, sturdy, shapely, textured leaves and bright yellow flowers, like a miniature buttercup almost. In the valley, it's almost likely to be a perennial. The five-petaled yellow flowers are about 1/4 of an inch in diameter. The plant is not native. It's an introduced species, native to an island in the Caribbean. It has a tenaciously strong taproot that doesn't pull up by hand without breaking. The remaining root system, this is pretty exciting if you're a false mallow. The remaining root system, which very well may reach to China, will reproduce underground at the nodes. If you find it in the cracks of your sidewalk, I rather suspect it'll be yours forever. But it's not without merit, of course, or it wouldn't be in this lecture. It is one of the known food plants for common and tropical checkered skipper, red-crested and scrub hair-streaked butterflies. The leaves are possibly eaten by rabbits and Texas tortoises. Its claim to fame for this presentation is that its flowers open in late afternoon, providing nectar for night insects. And that will be clearer later. So actually now I'm switching gears. I've been talking about common plants we find in our yards that we think are useless weeds. But now that you realize their value to the habitat and wildlife, hopefully you're ready to give that more consideration. But if you're not quite convinced, listen on. There are other aspects of our gardens that we should know about before we arbitrarily think we should get rid of something, especially if we don't know what it is, whether plant or critter. First, a little background. 3 years ago, thanks to probably Joseph, there he is. 3 years ago, and I lost my place. I learned about mothing, and this is a hard word to say in public. Mothing is the art of attracting moths at night. I won't go into a lecture on the variety and beauty of moths, but it's turned out to be a fascinating, if not somewhat addicting pastime. Our chapter webmaster, Joseph Connors, wrote a tutorial for the website about mothing, and the link is showcased there on the slide. My setup is remarkably simple. 2 blacklight bulbs screwed into shop lamps, clamped to an old camera tripod, and a white sheet stretched over a frame made of 2x4s that my husband thinks I'm strong enough to carry around. You might wonder what's so fascinating about moths. There's just a few. And they're colorful, they have character, and they're just exciting. So I periodically move my moth sheet to different areas of the yard when I can get my husband to help me. For Moth Week in July, I set up a few more stations, if you can see on the left of the slide. And I do want to mention that I think the last week of July is Moth Week. So stay tuned on Facebook pages for more advertisements about that. So right from the first, something unexpected happened. I not only attracted moths, as you could see in that picture, I attracted things I'd never ever even imagined. It was fascinating. All those lovely bugs with clever names that flew to the black light, like a longhorn beetle, twig girdlers, leaf notcher, weevil, click beetle, and more. A species of ground beetle that's actually a caterpillar hunter beetle, an S-banded tiger beetle, a spider assassin bug, just new, June 7th, sorry Joseph, but it is a spider assassin, and a mesquite borer, which is a wood boring beetle. More, a four-spurred assassin bug, just new last week, and below it, another species of assassin bug, a coastal tiger beetle, isn't it beautiful? And a click beetle. A number of species of stink bugs, leaf-footed bugs, and more assassin bugs. Even dragonflies were attracted to the black light. And of course, moths, like this yellow-winged parachutist moth.
That's a moth.
On the right, the one on the right.
I'm a big person.
Didn't recognize the difference.
That's great. So now that Tony's awake,
Watching.
I know he's my biggest fan. I shouldn't make fun. So hundreds of species of moths and other nighttime flyers of all shades and colors have been identified over the past 3 years. So here's how all this buggy information fits in. Many of you know that bats eat mosquitoes. They also eat a whole lot of other things. And now that I've switched gears, this is how gardening for bats became the title of this presentation. A good number of bats are insectivores, but our valley bats are not. Most of them are insectivores. Gardening for bats is really gardening to attract insects. And obviously that's possible because we just saw a lot of insects in the last few slides. Native plants attract native bugs. Daytime bugs, nighttime bugs, insectivorous bats eat night-flying bugs. Many night-flying insects hide out during the day in dense, bushy plants. So if we provide plants that attract bugs with food and shelter, we're having the bats and the habitat all around. So as you may know, bats are important beneficial mammals. Texas has more bat species than any other state. 33 of the 43 species found in the United States. This is a northern yellow bat we found clinging to our fence. So just so you know, the bat was safely transferred to a nearby palm tree. Interestingly, most bats cannot take flight from the ground, so I have read in my research. They must drop 2 or 3 feet before they can fly. Bats are sometimes found on the ground during the day. If uninjured, it is recommended to pick it up with a t-shirt-like fabric, secure the fabric back and all on a palm or tree trunk or branch as high as possible, wearing gloves, of course. And just a note, Brownsville's Gladys Porter Zoo is the only wildlife rescue rehabilitators for injured wildlife in the valley that I know of. Mexican free-tailed bats, also known as Brazilian free-tailed bats, are the most common throughout Texas and in the valley. In most of the state, they are migratory and spend winters in caves in Mexico. Where the climate is mild and food is available, bats may not migrate or hibernate. Mexican free-tailed bats are aerial insectivores. They consume night-flying prey while they too are on the wing. Their diet mainly includes moths, beetles, June bugs, dragonflies, true bugs, and flying ants, things you just saw in those photos. Bats live in hollow trees, tree cavities, crevices under bridge, caves in certain parts of the state. They are especially fond of palm trees here in the Rio Grande Valley, but only And this is important only when the palm skirt is allowed to remain. The skirt is the palm fronds that have turned brown and hang down, as in that picture on the left. Sadly, it's popular to trim those for the sake of aesthetics, but that loss of habitat affects every aspect of native wildlife. Bats especially suffer from the loss of palm tree skirts. Those dead-looking palm branches house hundreds of bats. In a moderate climate like the valley, bats roost in trees. In areas with few trees, many cavity roosting bats roost in man-made structures like buildings or bridges. The South Texas Border Chapter of Texas Master Naturalist members occasionally gather for bat watching field trips, like the one pictured here a few years ago. The two photos on the right are by Elizabeth Perdomo, thank you, and I hope she's watching. A couple of chapter members have apps on their phones and are experimenting with being able to identify the bat species from their recorded sounds. Some members recently met in the parking lot to watch bats emerging from the Express Lane Bridge, similar to the famous bat watching experience in Austin on a smaller scale. This is a photo taken here at St. George's, when what has been described to me as overzealous pruning happened at one of the palm trees. These two, possibly northern yellow bats, were still clinging to the leaf sheath. Perhaps our very own pollinator garden is where we might want to gather one night and watch for bats, exiting the palm tree just over the steeple here at St. George's. Besides the Mexican free-tailed bat, these four bat species are among those known to be in the valley. And when I say four bat species, I mean the words in the middle of the slide. So southern yellow, like the one we rescued, is typically only on our southern Texas plains and Gulf coastal plain. They possibly remain year-round. Their diet is small to medium-sized flying insects. Secondly, the northern yellow is a solitary bat, prefers roosting in trees near permanent water in Spanish moss, probably like at Santa Ana Nature Preserve, or in palm trees. Its range is the southern plains up to the northeastern portion of the state. They feed on leafhoppers, flies, mosquitoes, beetles, flying ants, and occasional damselflies and dragonflies. At dusk, they can be seen feeding around street lamps and over open areas like golf courses. They are non-migratory, but may go into torpor during extreme winter weather. Thirdly, the silver-haired range throughout the state. These bats have a most diverse diet. They hunt for soft-bodied insects like moths and, sorry again, Joseph, but they also eat spiders. And they forage low to the ground, unlike many other bats. They also eat flies, midges, leafhoppers, moths, mosquitoes, beetles, crane flies, lacewings, caddis flies, ants, crickets, and agricultural pests. So the silver-haired have the best smorgasbord. The fourth one up here, the hoary bat, throughout the state also are solitary. They hunt for prey while flying over wide open areas or lakes, feeding on moths, beetles, flies, crickets, and true bugs. And pictured from top left, down and around are melon worm moth, a leafhopper assassin bug, a striped horsefly, Texas bow-legged bug, Texas wasp moth, raspberry wave moth, a rubber fly, that's robber fly, green oak slug moth, chickweed geometer moth, an owl fly, and the southern yellow bat. So now that you're all enthused about finding a garden to attract all these diverse and interesting bugs that ultimately attract bats, here are some simple things you can do in your own gardens with native plants that serve double duty, offering usefulness both in the daytime for our entertainment and hiding nighttime insects and feeding nectar insects throughout the night. The next slides will show a range of trees, shrubs, and plants with dense foliage, perfect for secluding insects that you may want to include in your own gardens. And you may already be doing that. You may already be providing food and lodging for insects If your neighborhood has palm trees with skirts, Texas ebony, hackberry, mesquite trees. The Inaqua tree is a valley favorite, second only to ebony in attracting the greatest variety and numbers of native insects, according to local studies. If you don't have any of those stately native trees, the next few slides are of plants you can realistically add to your landscape to help the insect population. Moths and other nighttime pollinators are attracted to white or very light colored and fragrant flowers like sacred datura, which attracts large and interesting insects both day and night. Datura is a small shrub-like plant with big white trumpet-shaped flowers that open through the night and are only scented during the night. Sacred datura is a host plant for the Carolina sphinx moth, the 5-spotted and pink-spotted hawk moths. And just for fun, last Monday, I was already outdoors checking my moth sheet, and between the minutes of 5:46 and 5:49 a.m., I shot these 18 less than stellar photos of 23 moths and bugs on one sacred datura plant. Another morning, I found 12 different moths and bugs, and real excitement, a Carolina sphinx caterpillar, and a little pile of eggs of some sort right there in the middle of the photo. Okay, you got the picture. Sacred datura is a buggy plant that can shelter a multitude of insects. So moving on, one of my favorite shrubs to talk about in a presentation is the yellow sophora. And it's, I think, the most popular recommended for wildlife, food, and shelter. It's nearly the perfect plant all around. It can grow 3 to 6 foot tall with about a 6-foot bushy spread of long, gracefully arching branches. It's a perennial shrub with long blooming yellow flowers. It can survive temperatures to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. It will come back from the roots if frozen to the ground. It provides nectar for bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds during the day, and moths and nectar insects at night. It has, oops, no wonder you're looking weird. Okay. Back to the yellow sophora. All that I said was about this plant, not what you were looking at. So the nice dense foliage shelters insects. In addition to that, the gray-green cherry leaves lend the shrub a cool, calming, pastoral artistry to a garden. It also is a great plant for salty sea spray coastal gardens. So back to this one, and correctly identified now as brush holly. It's a tall, slender, thorny shrub. It blooms throughout the year with small white flowers and attracts nectar insects. Its red berries feed birds the rest of the year. This happens to be one of my all-time favorite photos. It's pretty old, but it was just kind of one of those luck shots that everything went perfect. It's a cowpin daisy, and cowpin daisy is an annual, bushy, dense foliage plant. It can grow to about 3 feet tall and have a healthy spread that can harbor a lot of insects day and night. Fortunately, it has large leaves because it's a larval host to the border patch butterfly and host plant for a few moths like the gilded seed copper, then a flower moth, the alluring Shinia, which is pictured, a goldenrod stowaway moth, and the southern emerald moth. It's a great seed producer. Bobwhite quail and Rio Grande turkeys eat the seeds, and it grows magnificently on our coastal dunes and in Robert's garden. He has great success and sells the plants. I hope he's nodding his head. He still has those. Anyway, he sells them at the home show in the spring. Turk's cap has several claims to fame, and it's another one of those few native plants that will grow in the shade. It dramatically attracts hummingbirds. It blooms nearly all year long, sort of resting during the month of December. It requires no maintenance except to be cut back nearly to the ground every 3 or 4 years. If left alone, it will colonize, as you can see there. It is a host plant for the mallow scrub hair streak, Turk's cap white skipper butterflies. The fruit is eaten by birds and small mammals. I watched great muscadies launch off a mesquite branch Plug a fruit, swoop back to the perch and gulp down the berry. Our hooded and Altamira orioles spend time hopping around in the bush, eating insects, caterpillars, nectar, and the fruit. I don't know if you can see on that one, but something is taking huge chunks out of all of the foliage online this year, and I haven't been able to find the culprits. Whether some sort of beetle or a cotton stinger bug, butterfly, caterpillar, or grasshopper, my searches, leaving no leaf unturned, lead me to nothing. But butterflies, diurnal moths, and other insects are also attracted to the flowers. Tiger moths, such as the use an enormous variety of plants, such as the one in the center. And if you stare at this photo long enough, you'll see the silhouette of a hummingbird. Bird's cap will pretty much reseed itself somewhere on your property, as will the sacred datura, which made a nice little companion garden in a spot one year. So I learned this plant by its Latin name, Buglia. In the mornings when I brushed past this bush, a multitude of flying critters get startled out of sleep and shoot off into the morning mist. So I'm going to say it's a great plant to shelter insects at night. And the nectar attracts a good many butterfly species during the daytime. Notice notice the flower on the left, but the shrub on the right is completely in bloom, so it has a yellow cast. Buglia sessiliflora, which is this one, is native to the lower Rio Grande Valley. The butterfly bush, Buglia davinia species, has a long and remarkable history over in England. This one, the sessiliflora, is valley native. If you ever get the chance and you're bored at the computer, do look up that Buglia davinia. It's quite remarkable, especially during the war over there, the big war in England has quite a dramatic countenance. So anyway, it photographs in different colors throughout the year, as you can see in the photos. The previous photo had the yellow cast when it was in bloom in the summer, and the leaves are covered with fine hairs, giving it, like the yellow sephora, the gray-green hue. You can prune it. This is a photo of mine on the left before it sort of got out of hand, but just to let you know, you don't have to let it become as huge as the one in the previous photo. So we're nearly through. I do want to mention Dahlia scandens. It's another plant that here in the valley is generally known locally by its botanical name, Dahlia scandens, and it's one of my favorite shrubs. Even though the blooms can look a bit messy, I just want to point out that it's a dense shrub and will shelter insects. It also is a larval plant for the southern dog-faced butterfly. As a matter of interest, in reference to its common name, few-flowered climbing dahlia, if you're familiar with our local authors, Dr. Al Richardson and Ken King, in their book, Plants of Deep South Texas, they note that they have never seen this plant climbing. Moth larval plants are important to the back garden also, and that book is circulating about moths and their larval plants. They add variety to a garden and help keep a continual supply of moths and caterpillars, like the Valandiers, trumpets that I've described earlier. It's an easy to grow white flowering night blooming vine that can produce blooms year round, and it's a host plant for the white-lined Sphinx moth. Here on the left, here on the left, on the right is the Sphinx moth. The night-flying click beetle feed on nectar and pollen during the night, as do other night insects. So Berlandier's trumpet vine is an important night blooming plant for insects as well as moths. Again, many night flying insects hide out during the day in the dense bushy plants, trees, and shrubs that I've just talked about, as well as the plants in the first portion of this presentation, like the Mexican hat, Coreopsis, and the red-seeded plantain. Insects also hide out in vegetative debris that collect under plants. Small piles of sticks and leaves under shrubs also make good cover for insects. Downed tree branches, if you have the means to cut them to size, can be tucked under large shrubs and left to decay making good breeding grounds for insects all year. And remember, just about the easiest thing you could do is keep the skirts on your palm trees. They are not only an important, cheap, and easy ready-made housing complex for the bats. We're trying to help out here, but they harbor legions of bugs. And my theory about that is the more cockroaches in a palm tree skirt, the less the house. So lastly, what might be considered a pesky native vine is possum grape. It's also called marine ivy, grape ivy, and cow itch vine. It has pretty light green, sturdy, crisp, fleshy leaves, greenish white, umbrella-shaped clusters of flowers that bloom in late spring and summer and attract butterflies and insects during the day and moths and insects at night. I found the Wilson's wood nymph moth and dot-line white moth caterpillars eating the leaves, and you can see the twining vine tendrils on the left photo. And here's the best news for fans of sphinx moths. Possum grape is a larval host to at least 3 types of sphinx moths: the mournful, vine, and satellite, and a gaudy sphinx in other parts of Texas. Pretty awesome, right? So I've shown you a lot of bugs: notchers, weevils, borers, girdlers, caterpillar hunters, stink bugs, soldier flies, robber flies, assassin bugs, and other garden gangsters. But don't be afraid to leave your house after dark. You won't be bombarded by legions of flying bugs, but let me just leave you with this. As night creeps toward a new dawn, a peculiar looking Texas bow-legged bug looks like he could mount a large striped horsefly, dig in his spurs, and ride off into the approaching sunrise after feeding all night and dodging bats and other flying predators. But insects, whether pretty or not, help sustain a whole world of nature. And at the end of the day, they're all just part of the food chain.
Are there any questions?
What's the moth that looks like a hummingbird?
Hummingbird moth.
Yes. It's good, right?
It has a better name.
And we have them here.
We do, and it might be in that.
Yeah. It's this, the family of sphinx moths are often all a lot of confused with birds. It looks like it.
Yeah, it might be in that book that's going around there. When I get home, when research, I'll email you, tell me.
Lifeline.
You know, in the back, look up hummingbird moth. So, any more questions?
Yes, it's a possible grave.
I'm sorry, what?
Possible grave of vine.
Yes, oh, yes. It can take over small buildings.
A single thing. All right, well, I guess if there's no further questions, thank you very much, Anita. We appreciate you and glad you were here to join with us.
Do you want your podium back?
No, I don't need a podium. I'm so short, they wouldn't be able to find me behind it anyway. I might have to stand up in the chair. Good evening, everybody, and we are going to take a few minutes break. There are refreshments at the back. There's ice in a cooler on the back side of the table if you want some ice in your cup. There's tea and lemonade. The tea is decaffeinated and it's unsweet if you want sugar or sweeteners back there. And in the red cooler is some cold water, bottled water. And then there's a few refreshments back there. So we'll take a few minutes break. If you didn't sign in when you came in, there's a sign-in sheet at the back right. And there's one set for our members. They're alphabetical order by the last name. And then another sheet for the guests. And I appreciate everybody being here. We'll start our meeting again in about 10 minutes.
The graphic ones, probably the. Not yet.
It's a horseshoe, but it's not attached.
Look at the swarms and stuff you're getting at night, like in your water, makes a heck of a difference.
Yeah, yeah, it's different this year than the other.
Jim Jerry asked if I needed to use a microphone for the people online to hear me.
Yeah, since you were just telling everybody today about the short break, I didn't try and grab it, but
Yeah,
yeah, just when you're ready, turn it on here.
okay. I will do that. Thank you so much for helping me out.
I'm not doing anything. Check this, check that. He knows everything.
Yeah, I can't check everything all at once. No.
It's good to have backup.
Yeah. It's good.
Team tag.
Hey, Joe,
It's first time, so we don't know what we're doing.
No, you switch to a different.
Joseph,
Uh,
Joseph.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I just curious about how many people were at the meeting tonight. They're on site.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. About 26 people, I think. And we have,
You think that's a good turn? You think it's a
Yeah.
good turnout?
yep, we had
That's good. Great.
22 on WebEx before the presentation ended, and then 3 or 4 on Facebook too. So this is really successful.
23. That
Oh,
made
wow.
Good.
you,
That's great. I just wondered.
Yeah, no, it's good to, I hadn't counted myself. I was gonna wait till the sign-in sheet, but in case anybody forgets, now we have a better idea.
Okay.
And we got
Thank
something
you.
to talk about while we're on break. It's weird having a meeting in person and online too at the same time.
It is different. I would agree.
We're supposed to like sit in a certain spot?
I don't know what part do you do. You present, I guess.
Just the, what's it called?
I guess when that time comes up, a lot of people up here.
Is everything working? Just hopefully they didn't.
No, luckily, Jim came, Jennifer wasn't able to make it, but, I had backup plans for everything and I think we got quite right. It still worked. So the audio could be better, but, now we know. I kept everything I tried didn't work, but Jim had an adapter that works, but it wouldn't plug in. It wanted a slightly different adapter. And then we got it, I think we had it hooked up to the computer, found out it didn't work anymore. So it's just the microphone of the laptop is picking up from the loudspeaker, which is supposedly some people complain is a little low, but apparently they're understandable. So not much you can do in the middle of the meeting.
Very, very.
We keep them busy. But you know, we go to the bar.
Yeah, definitely for March. We haven't figured out the date yet. So far, the only date that anybody's contacted me about haunting is the first Saturday month we ever came to. Last year we had 80 people show up, so I got to do that one again.
It's quite a bit of participation.
Yeah,
A lot of population.
yeah, and that was their first time doing one. So this can be a big show.
So is that the end of July?
Yeah, it's July.
So we don't plan anything around the windows.
You ready?
Okay, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Let's see. Did I?
You're welcome. No, I just, I don't want to see you tonight. I want to talk it out. You may have to help maneuver it if we have to switch to somebody else's line or something.
Yeah,
Because I do touch screen.
yeah, I'm not going too far.
Maybe I might just talk and let you.
Okay.
You want to stay sitting there, that would suit me just fine.
Awesome.
Okay. If everybody could be seated, we'll go ahead and proceed with our business meeting.
Yeah, good movements on this chest.
All right, everybody, if you could have a seat, please. If I could have your attention, if everybody would take a seat, we'll start the business meeting. I'm gonna turn that one off there. All right, now you can hear me. No excuses now. All right. Joseph's here, I started to say right-hand man, but he's on my left hand. So he's my left-hand man, and he's gonna help go through the screens. Now, do I need to back up? So we're trying to get this on,
There we go.
online and on Facebook, and so I need to stand in just the right spot so I'm not lost. Thank you everyone for being here. We have really good turnout. We had several guests, and I want to talk this evening a minute. Since it's been a while since we've met in person, and some of us have never met others of us in person, I wanted to start by welcoming everyone, but I wanted to introduce our officers that are here tonight. So I'm your president for the rest of the year, and then we will have an election, and in January, you will have a new president. They act like they don't believe us. You will, I hope you will have an impressive starting in January. Joseph here is one of our vice presidents, plus being a webmaster and taking care of all this technical stuff. He should step in if I decide I'm gonna go out of town or something, or if I get ill and can't make the meetings.
Hopefully never that happens.
Yeah, he's hoping that will never happen. I've never let him down yet. Our other vice president is in charge of programs. You've probably seen her online, Jennifer Rectory. She did not make it tonight. She's having air conditioning and plumbing problems at her home that she thought were higher priority than this. So we'll give her an excused absence tonight. Our secretary is Leslie Tuxlin. She's a Winter Texan, and hopefully she's online taking minutes. She was going to give it a try. Otherwise, we record this. And she's in California right now. That's where she is during this summer. Treasurer Gail Rice is here. She's at the back there, Gail, if you'll say hello. She's been doing a real good job of our treasury reports and budget. The immediate past president is Angel Robert Hernandez. You may have met him maybe at the Home and Garden Show, or he's out here working in the gardens at times. Our membership director and committee chair for the membership committee is Ronnie Escrino. There he is up front here. Our new class director is Jim Jerry. He's way back here. He's the tall man way in the back there. Rivera helps with our awards and recognitions. She at times also helps with reviewing and accepting the AT and volunteer hours approvals, especially those that are getting close to getting their certifications and stuff. She watches those real close and gets them approved so she can give y'all awards. Kathy Ton also does that. She's also our state representative and our chapter historian, and is in charge of our records retention program. She makes copies of everything. We have records retention. We have to do certain records for so many years, and she manages that. She's not here today. She was flying in on an airplane, and so wasn't going to be able to make it. You met Anita this evening. She is our communications director and committee chair. And as you know, she does a lot of blogs and newspaper articles, in addition to giving excellent programs like this evening's. And Joseph Connor, in addition to being vice president, is our webmaster and IT specialist. And Mayville, who's also out and about this summer, has agreed to help us with outreach whenever we might have a request for a booth at an event. So she's going to help us with that. Advanced training and field trips is Becky Jones. She's off on a cruise. And she is our AT director, and she's assisted by another member, Judy Perkin, who was unable to make it tonight, but she at least is still in the valley, and she's the one who will be seeing all the AT opportunities that are out there. She's the one that posts that information for us. Our volunteer service project coordinator and director is Susan Coleman over here. And she will be sending out notices whenever we have a need for volunteers. The new class representative is Mia Diaz. Did she make it this evening? I'm not sure if I recognize her.
I don't think it's, that one's not bad.
We had 31 unique accounts last logged in service or 18 hours. And logged out, so that doesn't mean that. This is what we're seeing in the system. So use face to face, if you ever have any questions about anything more than that. So it helps us track our impact. So the state kind of decisions. So when it comes to the volunteer, 28 members, those hours of 288 hours total, and 20 unique members logged 80 hours. A little bit lower than this month, but it's kind of a transition. It's very high. January 1st to
So happy to help at any time you need that. So next is River. Next will be Donna. And yes, yes.
We're a team.
And I like to stand back.
Okay. Oh my goodness, now we can see what's going on. My goodness, they know. So these are the awards and recognitions that are for the individuals present this evening. And 2023 recertification pin is awarded to Robert Hernandez. And another 2023 recertification for Mike McClure.
Hey, Mike.
You want to get a picture together? Who's taking pictures?
Ripping over here.
It's all right. Oh.
Okay, this is Mike McClure. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Mike.
He's multitasking tonight. Thank you so much. You think this is fun? You should be at some of our board meetings. Okay, and recertification for 2023 and the 100-hour milestone pin for Bill Rich. We got to get used to having these pictures for our scrapbooks and stuff. Just having a list and saying congratulations and slipping these to you whenever. It hasn't been okay. Thank you, Bill. And thank you for doing presentations at the library. We appreciate that. Okay, and next is another 2023 recertification pin and the 100-hour milestone pin for Velma Schmidt. And Velma's a 2023 training. So she went through training, recertified, and has a 100-hour milestone. That is wonderful, Velma. Yeah, it's only June, so that's quite an accomplishment. Okay, 2023 recertification pin for also another one of our 23 class members is Zeke Schmidt. And if you want to really feel old, stand beside this young man. Thank you so much, Zeke. All right, and another 2023 recertification pin and 250-hour milestone pin for Stuart Warren. It is so good to see you. Thank you. Thank you. We're good.
Okay.
You'd like to say what?
Just that many people, lists are up there of all the people that have earned awards this year so far. And many of you already have them, and some of you are here, but you already have your awards. You didn't get them today. A little basket full that give out still.
Hopefully at future meetings, we'll run into these people and they can enjoy getting their pins too. Okay, that was membership communications. Anita, do you have any other announcements? You've done blogs and articles and are getting ready for newspaper articles and you did a program.
No, that's about it.
Okay. And I know if you have been watching Joseph this evening, he is multitasking to the max. Do you have any comments you'd like to say maybe about the City Nature Challenge and the link you gave out earlier?
I don't know if people online can hear me, but we're having John Brush put out his report on the City Nature Challenge, what all interesting stuff and what he's found that was unique and different statistics. It was really interesting to look at. I sent out the email this morning and it's on Facebook also, so check it out. Was that all I was supposed to talk about?
I think so.
We do have one mothing thing planned so far. I haven't got news on the rest, but I think it's July 29th or a Saturday at Quinta Mazatlan is the first one we have. It'll be on some email coming out to you guys soon.
So thank you, Joseph. Yes, and I got that message through iNaturalist. So I guess because I contributed to the City Nature Challenge, I automatically got that message and the link to the report. So I thought that was cool. Advanced training and field trip. Now, neither Becky nor Judy are here this evening, but earlier this summer we had a Martin Refuge field trip. That was right after the big rain and windstorms. So we did get quite the participation, but there were some hardy souls out there. And I think they had a good time. It was very interesting. And we appreciate the people who arranged that. They also had a bat field trip, just what was it, the 10th, I believe it was, to the Mission Conway overpass, as they mentioned earlier. They had equipment out and stuff, but no bats. But I did hear a report since then that they have spotted the bats in the hundreds out there. So don't give up. They may be out there still. And then the next field trip coming up, Joseph just mentioned towards the end of July, is for the mothing. And there'll be more than one. So keep your eyes on our AT announcements that are sent out. And hope you enjoy the opportunities for getting out in the field a little bit. Maybe these evening ones will be a little bit nicer than some of the day ones. Volunteer Service Director Susan, you want to say, or you want me to just read what I've got here? Okay, Sea Turtle Inc.
I definitely want to. So many of us who are around, they really. Going over to the mind. What's the other one?
The Coastal Studies Lab, I wanted to mention there were still a few dates, the 22nd, 23rd, and 30th, that they had said they might need help for, so be sure to touch base with them.
I think this lady had something to add.
Yes, there is, we have a visitor here. You want to come up so you can talk in the mic, and that way they can see somebody and hear somebody besides me. Yes, we have some visitors here who wanted to tell you what they're up to.
Hello, I'm Katarina Calito, and that is my mom and younger sister there. We are heading a restoration of Salinenio Wildlife Refuge in Salinenio, Texas, which is about an hour away from here. But it's very, very overgrown, and we've been working since January to restore the park and plant native plants and just, overall make it better. But it's a very hard work. It's only my family and 2 other volunteers, making a total of 5. We're not a very big park, but it's still very hard to make any progress with the amount of volunteers we have. And so if any of you would be interested in helping us restore Salinenio, you can find us on Facebook at the Friends of Salinenio. That's our Facebook page where we post updates about our restoration and about the days we're working, any updates about volunteering. So if any of you are interested in volunteering or helping out at the park, please contact us there or contact us after. I also spoke to your volunteer coordinator, and she hopefully will be spreading more information about this so that if any of you want to volunteer at another date, feel free. Thank you.
She did mention that Seth is helping them also out there, and we all know Seth Welliver, so he's giving them good support. So we'll keep you posted. Like I say, they've got Susan's contact information so that she can spread the word if there's specific dates and stuff are going out there, and contacts farm. So watch for that in future announcements. All right. From myself, I wanted to report on the annual meeting. For those of you who might not know it yet, I'm not sure how you wouldn't know it because I've talked about it almost every meeting. The Texas Master Naturalist annual meeting is going to be held this October here in McAllen. The other chapter, the Rio Grande Valley chapter, and our chapter have been working together. We teamed up and are tackling all the different project areas that we need to look at in preparation for the annual meeting. We have co-chairs that are overseeing numerous activities, meeting online, meeting together, meeting with the state. And we've been making a lot of progress because the deadline will be approaching for them to get the information out for registration. They did receive over 100 proposals for presentations. So we've got lots of interesting proposals on programs that they'll be presenting. The field trip proposals have had a deadline now, and they're going to be having a meeting about field trips and reviewing those tomorrow. Contact sponsors has been underway, and I can say they contacted HEB, who have donated $5,000 for us. So, and we have the board approved a $500 chapter sponsorship to the state meeting. So they'll be getting that from us. There are some contests that are underway for 2 or 3 different categories. And then there's going to be the art, photo, and media submissions. If you have some art or stuff you want to submit, Jennifer and one of the other chapter members from the other chapter are working on that. And they have a meeting later this week. And that information should be getting out through the listserv and on the website. Vendors are being solicited. They just got the finalized information from the McAllen Convention Center so they could set the prices for vendors. And so that subcommittee is sending out to a list of vendors that we had developed. I know that a couple of things y'all are most interested in is they have not yet announced the cost for us to attend the meeting, the registration fee. They had not indicated yet and made a final decision whether there will be any virtual components. And as in the past, those of our members who choose to attend and volunteer, we will make every effort to look at our finances, which are quite healthy right now, and see if we can't subsidize your expenses for attending the event. We can't pay everybody's way, but we'll see what we can do to help defray the costs. And the annual meeting webs at the state website has information that you can link onto in the agenda that I set out. There's the link. And you can get updated there. They've already got the list of hotels in case anybody wants to stay over there closer. They've got the different rates at the hotels in the area and a general agenda that's is still kind of a draft form, but it's a good idea of what's going to be happening on the different days. Anybody have questions about the annual meeting? Okay, Kathy Tolan said I was supposed to really build it up. You really want to attend. It's an exciting time. We have some wonderful field trips planned and lots of very interesting speakers. You think Anita was good tonight. She's going to be there doing some other presentations, but we have several members. Joseph's going to be doing some. I don't know who else. I know that several of our members that aren't here. Tony. Yeah, Tony. Tony's going to be doing a presentation. So, oh yeah, field trip. And yeah, so we've got numerous field trips lined up too. Keems is going to do something and about tiny forest and such. So there'll be lots of very interesting field trips and opportunities for advanced training.
And I wanted to add that we will be doing volunteers as we get closer to time. Like there will be a registration table. I don't want to sit there for 3 days, so I will get to help so that we can answer questions and. We haven't had a meeting yet, so I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing, but there are so many different opportunities. You don't want to be in charge of anything, but you're willing to help out. So there will be a lot of opportunities to get in some interesting volunteer work.
Yes, and yeah, Tony.
And we're having an eclipse.
That's right. The big event that we are having an off-site away from McAllen Convention Center event on that Saturday that includes the annular eclipse and some activities away from the convention center outdoors. So we're hoping for pretty weather. It's bound to be cooler by then. So yes, we will be asking for volunteers and also the when announcements are sent out and people are asked to register, everybody, all Texas Master Naturalists that are registering to attend the event will be asked to help volunteer, or can they volunteer? So there will be people that routinely volunteer every year, every event. So it's not just on our shoulders, thank goodness. But I think it'll be an exciting event. I've been to a couple of them and it's well worth the time. And it's reasonably priced. I mean, it may sound expensive to some, and it is expensive for some. But if that's your passion, you've probably been saving up for it and setting it back and know that's what you're going to do. Yes.
How much was it last year to attend?
3 something.
Yeah, 3 something. I expect it'll be in the 300s. I don't. Hopefully, it won't go 400. But they had a lot more expenses this year. Their baseline, she does not want to show us that are in meetings with the state. They don't want to show us the baseline, but it's well over $100,000 to put on this event. Yeah. So yeah, because all the events and the other expenses related, but they offer lunch and dinners that are included in the registration fee, and so there's lots of things included.
The cost of registration.
Yes. Yeah, we have the entire convention center. And we're gonna
$300 for the whole.
yes, it's for the yes, it's gonna be Wednesday through Sunday noon And there may be some other things tacked on before and after, but those 3 days, there'll be classroom presentations and field trips, and then night events, and then your banquet dinners and stuff. So
Exhibitors?
yeah, there'll be an exhibitors hall, and we're getting those vendors out, and then we'll have a silent auction, and we'll be calling for the silent auction items that are getting ready to kick that off. So, yeah, there'll be places to spend money on silent auction items, and if you have some goodies that you're willing to share, not garage sale stuff, but nice things, we'll be glad to take your donation for the silent auction. All right. Any other questions on the annual meeting? Okay, we're going great. I wanted us to be sure and be out of here by 8 if at all possible. So Robert, call them and tell them we're not going to be here till 9 tonight, and they can come over and help us close down. I do have an announcement. Our next board meeting, because of the July 4th weekend there, or actually July 4th is on Tuesday, our board meeting will be the following Monday, July 10th. We're still holding them virtually. If anyone wants to see what goes on or join us for a board meeting, just let Joseph know so he can send you an invite and a link to it. And then the next general meeting in July is July 17th. It'll be that following week here at St. George's. And to save the dates, I have them in the agenda. Future general meeting dates will be August 21st and September 18th. And October, we will not have a general meeting because that'll be the Monday immediately after our annual meeting. So we're going to be sleeping still probably. But yeah, so we're not going to push you to go do 1 hour of advanced training when you've had the long weekend to do that. And again, the dates of the annual state meeting are October 12th through 15th. Does anyone have any other announcements? Yes, Tony, very good.
Joseph, can you bring up the Texas Coastal Natural Fund?
We're trying to resurrect what we call the Texas Coastal Naturalist Program. And we have a pin, and you can qualify for the program by attending 3 trainings. One either on red tide, marine mammal strandings, sea turtle cold stun rescues during those, and then pelican downings on Highway 48. And we have some other things that we're going to include in it. And we do have a Facebook page, Texas Coastal Naturalist. Oh, and the Texas Coastal Naturalist is the parent organization, the Red Tide Rangers. We haven't had a red tide down here since 2017, and that was a very mild one, but we've had some very serious ones. And the Red Tide Rangers go out and sample red tide. If you have asthma, don't even think about it, but because it produces a toxic aerosol. And so that's our page. We'll announce it. We were going to do it on the 24th of June. But everything's been moving so fast in the summer, we'll probably be a little bit later, maybe closer to the fall. So visit our page, like it, please. And you can earn that pin. And also, if we have a red tide, you can earn a Red Tide Ranger.
Okay. Sure, keep us posted so we can send that advanced training opportunity to our members. All right. I can't tell, it's too dark. It was before 8. It was 70.75 hours for advanced training for Anita's program. And we've been right at a half hour, which is 0.50 for chapter business. So everybody be sure and go home and post your hours.